Welcome to the Business Radio Network. Enjoy Small Biz, Big Voices with Stephanie Rising.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Rising, a business coach and author in beautiful Tucson, Arizona. Today, it's my pleasure to speak with Pam Krim, CEO and President of the BBB serving Southern Arizona. Our interview will conclude with a proof lightning round, and our final segment will be Dear Coach, when I'll coach listeners through issues they've emailed in. For the time being, we are recording our show remotely, so thank you for bearing with any sound idiosyncrasies. It's my pleasure to welcome my guest, Pam Krim, CEO and President of the BBB serving Southern Arizona. The BBB has served our community since 1952, and it helps consumers find and recommend businesses, brands, and charities that they can trust. Fast forward 68 years, and the BBB serving Southern Arizona is headquartered in Tucson with employees who now handle 15 phone lines and over 2,000 points of contact by phone and internet each week. Our nationally awarded chapter represents consumers and businesses in Pima, Cochise, Santa Cruz, Graham, and Greenlee counties. While there are thousands of free and subscription websites that offer a range of consumer information, the BBB is the one place where you can find it all. More than 3,200 Southern Arizona businesses have earned the coveted Accredited Business Seal, a trusted symbol of a company's commitment to integrity, ethical business practices, and customer service. Pam, welcome to the show, and thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate it. And just to set the stage for our conversation this afternoon, please share with us the BBB's mission. What are the values that drive the organization? And in what ways does it represent the interests of both consumers and businesses?
Well, I think the vision of our organization kind of says it all. Our vision is to create and support an ethical marketplace where business and sellers can trust one another. So the mission involving to support that vision is really trying to advance marketplace trust. So we do that by encouraging and supporting best practices and educating consumers. We work very hard at that. We celebrate our marketplace role models, such as our Torch Awards. We also take the opposite side of that a little bit, in that we call out and address substandard marketplace behavior, meaning those companies that just aren't living up to the standards that add to a marketplace full of trust. And then we are always, all of that adds up to creating a community of trustworthy businesses and charities. So let's not forget our nonprofits as well, is that we do have an accreditation process for them, and it's been very successful in Tucson.
And what kind of emphasis gets placed on that accreditation? This is something that, again, got touched on in both your mission and in the intro. But I feel like, when you see that BBB sticker in someone's window, that means something. And I think it's a really good reminder to the business who has it to uphold ethical business practices. But it means a lot to consumers to see that people participate in this.
Yeah, it's almost like a contract. When you're a member of the BBB as an accredited business, you're committing to our standards of trust. So that means you're going to establish and maintain a positive track record in our marketplace by building trust. You're going to advertise honestly and use the standards in common practice of good advertising. It means that you're going to tell the truth. So when you represent your product or service, you're going to tell the truth, and you're going to be very clear, and you're going to have adequate disclosures of all your material. So when you say lifetime guarantee, what does that mean, right? You're also going to be transparent. You're going to be openly identifying who you are, where you are, and disclose any policies that might be unique to your company. And then obviously you're going to honor your promises, right? So if you have a written agreement or a verbal agreement, or you have a sign up within your facility that says no returns or whatever, that you live up to and make the commitments, but you have to publicize those types of promises. It asks you to be responsive. So we want our accredited businesses to be responsive to consumers. So if there is a concern or a complaint, you need to engage that consumer and come to a resolution that's professional and also adequate in keeping both parties on an even keel. And then also a really important one, especially in the last 5 years, is safeguarding privacy of your customers and consumers. So, all your credit card policies and et cetera. And then obviously embody integrity. That's like the overall branching one that talks about the types of transactions you make and the commitments you have to integrity. So that's really, that that business has committed to this. And you also know that we've gone through a process to make sure that the company, depending on what type of permits and licensing they need to have, that we have vetted them through that process as well, so that a contractor has, the right license in place.
Mm-hmm. And there is something to be said for public accountability. I mean, I don't know anybody these days that doesn't look at some sort of star rating system or something when they're making a decision, all things being equal, which company do I pick? And so I think that there is something about being part of the BBB, having those online reviews and knowing that you have to uphold a certain standard that does boost consumer confidence. And
right.
Oh, go ahead.
No, and it's important because not everything goes 100% perfect in the business world, right? And so,
right.
So it's good to know as a consumer, right, that you're working with a business that wants to make it right. So something might go wrong, or they might not hit a date of a completion of a pool or whatever it is. But this gives you a vehicle. That business has committed to going through the complaint process and working to resolve your problem as a consumer. And that's a really important piece, that these businesses are engaged. That's the big message, I think.
Yeah, and I think it also helps consumers to have a sense of fair play as well, because, social media is still a little bit of the Wild West, and you can just sort of, drop your little bomb of a review and run. But because there's no process to, A, make sure that the complaint is a legitimate one, and B, give the company an opportunity to rectify it, I think that, there's almost like this love-hate relationship with online reviews. Sometimes they can be very frustrating, whereas reviewing companies through the BBB acknowledges exactly what you just said. Maybe somebody had a bad day. Maybe someone had a lapse in judgment. It's not whether a company makes a mistake. It's about what the company does to rectify that mistake and learn from it. Because we're all human.
And that's very, very significant. And, that also consumers can know that when they do read a review, and that's different than a complaint. Okay, a complaint's a formal process we go through. We have many, many steps and touch points during that process. But a review is when you go on our website and review that particular client or any business, actually, not just our accredited businesses, because we have over 34,000 businesses on our website. So when you do that, we actually do our very best to authenticate those reviews actually depict a real life business transaction. And it wasn't a disgruntled employee or somebody's great uncle or whatever it is. So we do our best to do that. Could I say we're 100%? I would never want to say that because, especially since the Better Business Bureau, we're full of trust, right? We need to always have that. Yes. So I'm not going to make a blanket statement like that, but I will tell you we are very committed to making sure that our reviews are accurate and that, not necessarily accurate, but actually have taken place. The transaction did. And I think that sets us apart right now.
It really does. And it segues into my next question for you. I had mentioned in the introduction that the BBB has been serving Southern Arizona since 1952. And I remember reading online that, back when the region was establishing its office, it was like this very big deal for the office to get a second phone line, right? Because it anticipated 2,000 calls in a year. Right. And, now your team processes that many points of contact every week. And so one thing that I wanted to kind of flesh out, just so people who maybe are newly understanding the BBB, or maybe they haven't figured out what the BBB can do for their company, is how has it evolved to serve a 21st century audience? And what would you like people to better understand about your impact?
I would look at it two ways. One, when you think of the word evolving and you think of the Better Business Bureau, think of the digital world, right? In that our website locally, bbb.org, we got over 1.3 million page views last year. And the average person actually stayed on our website over 6 minutes, which in this time and day is a really long time.
That's like beyond. Nobody has that attention span.
Exactly. And it's actually been growing over the last 24 months. So I'm very pleased with that, because it means that people are finding the information helpful. If they were going off after a minute or 2 minutes, that means they're frustrated and confused. But when they're actually staying that long, that means they're reading and engaging, I believe. So it's very easy for consumers to gather information about businesses and about nonprofits from our website. And we not only have accredited businesses, which we have 3,200 of, but we also include another 32,000 businesses on our website that you can read about and see and learn more about. Wow. And I think that's a really important part. And at the same time, in this crazy world, we also are still doing old-fashioned investigations of businesses, all right? So technology has actually helped us do that. So we've evolved to a way in which we can really look at trends that consumers have brought to our attention via complaints or reviews about specific businesses in our Southern Arizona community. And then we work very closely with the Attorney General's office, and we pass that information on to see whether they want to do an investigation. So, that's a couple of things, as well as we're very dedicated to our Spanish-speaking population. Each department at the BBB, I'm really proud to say, has someone that speaks fluently in Spanish, and usually it's more than one person. So I'm very, very proud of that. And the other thing is, I believe a lot of people would always think that going to the BBB was like going to the big stick, right? The whole carrot stick phenomenon. And basically we were, very negative oriented connotation, like, I'm going to report you to the Better Business Bureau. But actually we've done some studies on it, and a large portion of our traffic, when we talk about points of touch with our accredited businesses and the consumers, are positive. And a lot of that has to do with two things. One, our review site, which I touched upon. It's very authentic. And two, we are becoming, and have been for many years, but now in the digital world, we've become a trusted resource for people to go to, a trusted portal. And we're really proud of that.
And one thing that I wanted to also ask you about is, in addition to all of that work, you're also very actively involved in the scam trackers, and that probably ties in with the information that you pass on to the why am I blanking all of a sudden? The district attorney's office, right? The AG's office. So, talk a little bit about the scam tracker and how that works, because there's, especially right now, there are a lot of people who are acting fairly predatory and preying on people's fears around COVID-19 and whatnot. And so that particular service, I think, is really important to highlight right now.
Well, as I always say, the bad guys, well, right now I call them the bad guys. And yes, they are in full force right now. And so, but all along, we've been building Scam Tracker. And Scam Tracker is the largest, most trusted, from surveys we've done, okay, place to go to learn about scams. So the thing that you can do is, if you have been unfortunate and come across a scam, and hopefully you haven't fallen for it, but if you did, because they're professional, so you shouldn't be embarrassed about it. So go to Scam Tracker, which is at bbb.org, and on the top of our website, there's a button that you can click on and you can report it. And then you can also go in and see right down to the zip code all over the United States, Canada, and I think a portion of Mexico right now, that you can get all of the most common scams that are coming up. So let's say your mother lives in Indianapolis. You could look there just to see what's happening if she's reported, gee, someone was asking me to purchase this, that, and the other. So you can actually really get a global sense of it, but also right down to the zip code. It's just so sad what's happening. And now we even have one that's called Ad Trust. And because our governor declared a state of emergency, we are able to report price gouging on our site as well.
Good
and there's
to know.
directions on how to do that. So, and price gouging is usually, it should be around a product that's orientated towards this pandemic. So with that, if you take the product and then you take maybe 10, 20, 30% increase in price, then that is actually what you would call price gouging. And we can report that.
That's good to know. And I'm jotting that down so I can include that in the show notes as well and direct people to that part of the site.
Yeah.
And, you know, just as you're talking, it occurs to me, like, I always think of you as a wealth of information about what is going on in our community. And I'm curious about how you came to be the CEO and the president of the BBB serving Southern Arizona. Like, what brought you to this role? And were there particular stories that inspired you or continue to inspire you in this line of work?
Well, thank you for asking. I tell you, I feel like I have the best job in Southern Arizona. And, I really do. And my board kids me about it, but because I have a lot of enthusiasm about what we do. And kind of most importantly, I have a lot of enthusiasm for business owners and also consumers, right? And how do you work together? But my career started, the first 20 years of my career, I worked for a very large corporation called Baxter Healthcare. And I was very, very fortunate because they took huge risks with me. And I had the opportunity to be exposed to probably responsibilities that I really didn't have the smarts, intelligence, or background to do. And then I got to run large portions of the country, the Southeast, or the Midwest, off in New York City, around surgical products that were used in the operating room, and led many teams. And again, they took a huge chance on me. So I had access to learn from some really great leaders, and then also some leaders that weren't so great. But I was always intrigued about the inner workings of what the real business is, not just my entity in marketing or sales, whatever, but the entire business. And I also became very intrigued to think what would it be like to own my own and be that responsible one. And after Baxter, I actually owned two companies. One that was built up and I successfully sold, which is the regional internet service provider, dakotacom.net, which is still in business today. But the second one...
It's my husband's service provider.
There you go. Okay. So my former husband and I started that in 1995. I believe it was 1995. Yeah, I'm dating myself now. But and I'll tell you what, the internet world was like a cowboy. I mean, it was the wild, wild west.
Oh, yeah.
Time. So it was very interesting to be involved in it, and super fast. And I knew nothing about the internet because I'd been in the operating room. So wonderful learning curve that I had to like run for. And it was a great experience. But there was also just a lot of good business knowledge that you needed to be able to apply. So I'd like to think that's maybe what I brought to that. But anyways, on the second one I did, I actually, I had an Aveda hair salon in day spa, which I actually had to close towards the end of the recession. And I learned so much from both of those. And number one, that's kind of when I started my love affair with business owners. You know, making payroll every 2 weeks. I mean, that to me is the big test. And I am just very committed to supporting them and bringing them resources that I clearly remember that I didn't have. You know, making the decision to wind down my business was one of the most humbling experiences I've ever gone through. You know, I had to learn a lot about myself. I learned that I wasn't a quitter, but I probably should have quit earlier. You know, all those lessons, I learned that not all things are under your control. Okay, that's huge. And I learned that making ethical decisions are not only important morally, but they also are what advances you to your next great adventure.
Yes.
So I have such a fondness for small business and the courage that it takes. So I'm just very compelled to do whatever we can at the Better Business Bureau to support them.
And I definitely have always felt that passion, that you bring that to your work and through the BBB and helping us to be better business owners, because I mean, our reasons are somewhat very similar for why we do what we do. I became a coach because it takes enormous guts to be a small business owner.
Right.
All of the decisions that you have to make, everything that rests on your shoulders. And, most of us own businesses. We do not have MBAs. We did not graduate from a business school. We had a really good idea and we had enough nerve to run with it.
Right.
And, right. And so the challenges that come up along the way can be very daunting. And it isn't that, people don't have the smarts to figure it out and they don't have the will to figure it out. It's just sometimes the sheer enormity of everything that has to be decided can be really overwhelming. And so I've always appreciated how much you have the small business community back.
Well, I just feel very strongly about it. In many small businesses, the biggest struggles, some of the best advice I ever got was that, you need to make sure you have good people around you, right? Such a coach as yourself, such as a good attorney, such as a good finance person. And when you're in your business and you're working your vision and you're working your magic, it's really hard to move that neck of yours and look to the right and say, do I need to get a good finance person, or do I, what do I need here?
Right.
I think a business coach really helps you decipher that as well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And on that perfect note, we are going to take just a quick break. This is Small Biz Big Voices, hosted by Stephanie Rising. I'm a small business coach on a mission to get business owners off their hamster wheel and empower them as authentic and influential leaders. I'm excited to announce that I just launched my online marketing course, which I'll talk about during our Dear Coach segment. Today, I'm visiting with Pam Krim, the CEO and president of the BBB serving Southern Arizona. Now, I know that COVID-19 is not affecting everyone the same way, neither as individuals nor as businesses. Some people are understandably struggling, and others are coping well, if not thriving, because they've been presented with new opportunities. With such a wide variety of experience going on right now, plus so much uncertainty as things continue to unfold, how do you view the BBB's role during this era of COVID-19?
Well, we've taken the approach, and I tell you, I have got a super board of directors. And please remember that many of them, probably 95% of them, are small business owners, and others are either with associations or organizations that support small business. So I'm really fortunate to have their insight. And we decided right from the get-go, when we could kind of see this coming, and not more so than anybody else, all right? We don't have a crystal ball, but when we knew we were in the midst of this, we really said, this is a time where our accredited businesses and the entire business community really needs a resource to business owners as well as to consumers. My director of marketing, Sean Herdrick, has done an excellent job communicating to our business community, making information available in a way that's easy to get to, whether it be PPP loans or whether it be HR issues around remote work or software platforms or scams, whatever. We have worked really hard to be a one kind of shop, where you go and you can get all the information that you need. And the fortunate thing that we have experienced in the last 6 weeks is that people are engaged. We are sending out a lot of social media. We're trying to use every avenue that we can. Social media, the internet, TV, etc. And I know on the social media, the one you can really see your responses quickly or your results, we're getting a very high open rate. And we're really pleased with that because we feel that we can be that non-biased. Let's just get you the information you need now. Because I think that's how business owners think. They don't have a lot of time to read, several articles and several different people's vantage points. They need to know the facts, and they're capable people to decipher the facts and apply those that are appropriate to them. So that's what we've worked really hard at. I think in the first, 3 weeks, I believe, we sent out over 35,000 emails to people.
Wow.
Yeah, to our database. So we have really, really been working hard at that. And then we have the national piece where we have a lot of national information as well.
Yeah, and I like that you have that two-pronged approach, because sometimes information that you get nationally doesn't feel like it quite fits the Tucson metro area or the southern Arizona market. And so
Right.
I do appreciate that you have a more regionally specific component to
Right.
your communication. That is very helpful.
And it's very important.
And, speaking of southern Arizona specifically, a chunk of our economy is tied to service and tourism industries. What have been your observations around the impact of COVID-19 on the southern Arizona business community? What are the things that you're most frequently hearing about?
Well, some segments have been hit a lot harder than others. And all of my outreach staff, we meet with daily, and I meet with probably twice a week and hear their comments that business owners are saying to them. And like if you take the restaurants, for example, they've been hit real hard.
Yeah.
And each owner's had to kind of map out what plan is best for them. I have several friends in that industry, and I know some of them have said, I'm going to do takeout. And they're doing takeout on steroids, and they're doing a good job. Are they making as much money as they used to do? Absolutely not. Have they had to scale back? Obviously, their employees, yes, they've had. But they've tried to pivot in a way that's best for them. Now, I have other friends that own very successful restaurants that said, you know what, we're just going to close down during this period. We're going to get all the food that we had extra in our refrigerators and et cetera that were on pending orders. We're going to just give that to our employees. So every business owner has had to find a way to truly find the best way in which to solve for this. Obviously, the contractors that we talk to every day, they're busy. You see their trucks out there, the landscapers.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, our membership actually has grown during this time period because they feel business owners have told us, yes, the BBB is relevant, and you do help define us in a way to stand out amongst our peers in competition and just to be in our community. So I think those are kind of my observations. I think that as we move forward, I really feel that because we are a tourist destination, that might help us. One of the things is that when we start opening up the different communities where we can travel, I think people will be taking driving vacations. And I think Tucson, because we have such a great outdoor, outside activity available to tourists, that also would be attractive. But we can bring people from Southern California and Northern Arizona and Utah, et cetera, that would want to come and enjoy our beautiful mountains. Second, I do believe that during this time we've learned a lot. I know we've learned a lot from a technology standpoint, and that used to be my background. But there's always more to learn. And when we moved our entire team to remote working, as most people have, we've all learned a lot about what platforms we should use, how do we use technology. For instance, one of ours is that we moved our remote team immediately, all 17 people in about 24 hours. And we found Ring Central, just as an example. And I'm not endorsing them. I'm just saying it works for us. I can't make endorsements. But Ring Central, I have found that now my team's coming back to me and saying, we like this so much on how it helps us perform from an outbound and inbound call that we would like to bring that with us when we come back. So I really do think that there are things to learn from this environment. How about, the video conferencing and Zoom? We've all become, well, I wouldn't want to say an expert because we also have some mishaps, but I think that we're all looking for ways like instant messaging. We're going to be using all of those more when we get back to our new facilities in order to substantiate and live with social distancing.
I do think that there's going to be at least one more wave of this, and it's difficult to know what adjustments to make right now, because we don't have a lot of information in terms of what that looks like, and nor do we have a lot of guidelines right now in terms of what that looks like. You know, how many people can be in, you know, I don't know if it's going to be like a square footage requirement. So if you have X number of employees and Y amount of square footage, how are you supposed to space people out who work out of an office? How are you supposed to space people out who are going to restaurants or other entertainment venues? And so, you know, I think that everyone seems both eager and very cautious about re-entering our public life, because we want to be safe and we want to be able to earn a living again. And you know, we're really seesawing back and forth between very different variables, and at least I don't feel yet like there's a kind of a solid middle ground plan in place. And I know that it's a big picture issue, and I know it involves a certain amount of conjecture, but I'm very eager to hear of some guidelines around this.
Well, the whole, you know, I call it the 6-foot phenomenon, right? We're going to all be thinking in 6 feet.
Yeah.
And there's even, you know, if you go on the internet, there's all things about the 6-foot office and et cetera that myself and my finance and HR director have been researching, and so that we can get our staff back to be safe. Because I think as the CEO of the Better Business Bureau, my main goal there is obviously to serve our mission, but the first main goal is to keep my people safe. So, you know, that's something that's definitely always on my mind as well. And we're doing a lot of research. But this 6 feet thing, we're surrounded. They got us surrounded. We got to go with it. We got to find ways to make it work, because if we don't, shame on us.
Well, and we're prolonging our own recovery. You know, I mean, I know I respect that people want to get back out there, and there are people who didn't have reserves, and especially employees who are paycheck to paycheck employees, and they didn't have that safety net. I mean, you know, my heart really goes out to people who are financially struggling right now, and so it's difficult to figure out how do you balance physical health with emotional and financial health, and getting people back to work. But I am confident that regardless of what the guidelines are, they will appear on the BBB website.
You can get that.
We will keep checking in, Pam.
We've already been having our own internal national webinars on that. I sat through an excellent one on Friday. So we're brewing all that information, and so are a lot of other really great organizations, and then obviously our own community and et cetera. So all that information will be available for people. And I think, you know, I'm an eternal optimist, and a lot of my friends, they kid me about it, but I really feel that it's the best way to go through life, and that I can have better impacts on situations if I remain optimistic. It doesn't mean that I'm blind to the tough road that's ahead of us.
Right. I'm a fan of informed optimism.
Right. Exactly.
That works.
Yep.
And the last question I have during this part of our interview, I definitely wanted to end on a positive note, because I'm excited that the annual Ethics Award is coming up. It is such a great celebration of local business, and I felt really honored last year to have won an Ethics Award, and I also got to be one of the judges for this year's nominees, which it was very eye-opening to be part of that process, and also to see all of the amazing behind-the-scenes things that our local business community is up to. So I'd like to end this part of our episode, recognizing the business leaders out there who continue to serve and inspire our community. So please share with us more about the BBB's Ethics Award and how you're going about celebrating this year's nominees, since we can't actually get together and have the big dinner.
Well, first, I want to say congratulations for your award last year. We were very proud to have you as an award winner. And second, thank you so much for judging, because, it's, as you know now, it's a pretty comprehensive program, and that nobody from the Better Business Bureau or anybody on my staff or anybody that's on payroll with the Better Business Bureau does any of the judging. It's all outside folks, many of those that have won previously, because we feel that the impact that you can bring to the judging process is just primo. So I want to thank you for that. We thought long and hard about the Torch Awards, right? Because part of our vision and mission is to celebrate those that do the right thing. So we also felt like, oh gosh, things are pretty doom and gloom right now. People are pivoting to areas and ideas and possible chances that they've never had to do before. So we didn't want to give up on it. We really didn't want to give up on it. And so we decided there was no better time than to celebrate small business in a poignant way than right now. And that we all need that more than ever. So our team took on this challenge of that. And a couple of days I was pulling my hair out, trust me. And we had a lot of fun researching this. And we found a local company, AVM, which is Audio Visual Management, that's here in Tucson. And they work globally. They work all over the world. And they put on very large meetings for very high-level corporations, especially in the healthcare industry. And they started over a year ago really working on the whole virtual world of meetings, and fortunately for all of us. And we were able to work with them, and they were able to come up with a platform that we could use to do a virtual Torch Award. And that we'll even have networking in the beginning and the end of it. So if you think of yourself as you think of the stage and a large room with probably 30 tables of 10 in it, and you visualize that organizational map, that's what it's going to look like when you first start. And you're going to be at a table, and you're going to be able to speak to the people that are at your table. So
that's cool. What a great idea.
Exactly. So, and then we're going to have our regular format. Everybody unfortunately will have to listen to me for only about a minute. And then we'll get right to the good stuff. All of our sponsors, I want to say, all have stayed with us. And South 32, which is our title sponsor, has very much stuck with us, and he will be speaking during that time. And our keynote is going to be Dr. Paul Melendez from the Eller School of Management Center for Excellence. And I've worked with him for several years. I've known him for several years. I'm on that advisory board for the center. And I know he'll do an excellent job celebrating ethics. Bobby Rich from the Drive 101.7 is going to be doing our MC. So a lot of this is going to look the same. You're just going to be watching it on your screen. And then to make it even more fun, we're working with Mayfield Florist and we're working with Via More Restaurant to really put together kind of a party pack of celebrations for those that attend. So it's going to be exciting. It's not going to be anything like anybody, to my knowledge, has participated in before. We decided that probably won't be 99% foolproof, but we felt that we've got a good enough handle on this to carry it off. And we didn't want to miss that opportunity. So it's going to be different. It's going to be exciting, and there's going to be a lot more information coming about it. Our finalists have been notified Friday and Monday and Tuesday of last week. So they are aware, and we're going to start taping our videos and et cetera that we always go through to make it a fun evening. Instead of being an hour and a half, we will cut it down to about 45 minutes of the award ceremony itself. But we'll have time before that and time after that to actually network with people at your table. Or actually, I think you can go to another table. So it's very, very interesting platform to work from.
That is so creative, and I'm really glad that you guys stuck with it and tried to figure out how to make this a moment of celebration for people, because I agree, the small business community could really use it right now. And I just, what you guys came up with, I think, is very symbolic of just all the creativity and innovation that I've been seeing come out during this period of time, and making lemonade out of a considerable number of lemons. So kudos to you and your team. Thank you so much, Pam.
Oh, you're welcome. We're excited.
Good. I am too. I can't wait. You can learn more about the BBB serving Southern Arizona by visiting their website at bbb.org, and we will also have that for you in today's show notes. And next is our Proust lightning round. The Proust questionnaire was a parlor game made popular by the French essayist and novelist Marcel Proust. He believed that by answering 35 specific questions, an individual reveals their true nature. We're going to go through as many as we can in just a few minutes. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What is your most marked characteristic?
Marked in good or bad?
Dealer's choice.
Okay. Would be my optimism. And that I feel that if you start off problem solving with an optimistic approach to it, and you tackle everyday life with an optimistic approach to it, number one, you're more resourceful. And I know that I can add to people's lives versus taking away. And that's what I try to do every day without being Pollyanna. It's like, am I adding to this situation or am I negating the situation? So I think it's my optimism. That's what people usually describe me as.
What do you most value in your friends?
Honesty.
Who are your favorite writers?
I don't really have a favorite writer. I have a favorite book of all time, is To Kill a Mockingbird. I read, there's just so many lessons in that book that I can read it. I've probably read it 5, 6, 7 times. But from an author standpoint of everyday life, not really have one. I read a lot of articles, the Harvard Business Review. Every morning I have a whole regiment that I, read the Wall Street Journal and CNN, Fox. I look at all different avenues. I try not to be partisan. So I look at both sides of the story. Obviously our Tucson publication. So that's what I do in the morning when I start my day. Everybody knows that. Like the first 30 to 45 minutes of my day, I'm in there doing that. Now, if it's important, come on in, right? But I do try to get through that. So, and if I do read novels, they're escape novels like Barbara Taylor Bradford or something like that. That's a long-winded answer. Sorry.
No, it's good. It gives me an idea of what you like to read. Which historical figure do you most identify with?
Amelia Earhart.
Oh, nice. And what are your favorite names?
Christopher, that's my son. That's
nice.
My favorite name.
Well, I would love to have you chime in at the end of our last segment. Dear Coach gives our listeners the chance to have their emailed questions addressed. And I'm often asked questions about how to improve a company's marketing efforts. So in today's Dear Coach, I'm really excited to talk about why I created my new online marketing course. I have been studying behavioral analysis and the DISC assessment in particular since I started my practice in 2006. And the whole point of using tools like the DISC is to move what we sense to be true about ourselves into conscious action. But a big challenge with applying self-awareness are one-size-fits-all solutions, which are prevalent in marketing. And that's partially because America as a country functions as an extrovert. America is an extroverted personality. So if you want to make more money, you just have to pick up the phone or start knocking on the doors, right? I mean, just put yourself out there. Those strategies may work for a lot of people, but statistically, about 65% of our fellow countrymen are actually more introverted, and many of them are business owners. So these are very capable individuals who happen to have less of an appetite for risk and self-promotion. So it became very clear to me over the years that smart, successful business people were being left out of the conversation when it came to sales and marketing. And it was also clear that regardless of your personality, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, everyone seems to struggle with really identifying and connecting with their ideal client. So here's 2 things that you have to know to be successful with your sales and marketing efforts. Number 1, you have to know how to leverage your own ability. And number two, you have to be very clear about what your ideal client values. So let's elaborate on that a little bit. Whether you're a D, I, S, or C on the disc, you have skills that you can utilize to represent your company and to close business. Sales and marketing definitely comes more easily to some more than others. So the key is to set yourself up for success. Everyone has to do things from time to time that are challenging and outside of their preference. I mean, we've learned that now more than ever. You have to identify the handful of strategies that you are most likely to utilize. So a big part of being successful in sales is consistency. And you're only going to achieve that if you're honest with yourself about what actions are sustainable for you. If you're an introvert, you have plenty of options outside of gala events. And likewise, if you're an extrovert, you don't have to spend countless hours on market research. There are tactics that are effective for every sales style. And next, when it comes to connecting with your ideal client's values, it's essential to understand what is important to your target audience. And oftentimes when I ask people, who is your target market, they'll say, I'll sell to anyone. Now, I've talked about the many advantages of knowing your ideal client in past episodes. So all of my Dear Coach articles can be found on our Small Biz Big Voices Facebook page. What I want to emphasize today is the importance of speaking your audience's language. We as business owners know what we offer backwards and forwards. We know our lingo. We know why what we do is important, and we know why people should buy from us. But if we don't figure out how to express that in terms that can be easily understood or agreed to by the public, no amount of behind-the-scenes expertise is going to overcome that. You have to talk in terms of what your audience values in order for them to connect with you. Otherwise, you're just building your own barriers to a sale. So in addition to wanting all behavioral types to have marketing strategies that set them up for success, I also wanted a platform that is affordable and easy to implement. So I encourage you to visit my website. It's www.therisingeffect.com. and check out my online disc marketing course. It provides proven step-by-step methods for creating a marketing strategy that is comfortable for your particular sales personality. So by the end of the course, you're going to have a system that is focused and actionable. You'll be able to increase your sales confidence and your close rates. You will attract profitable and loyal ideal clients. And hey, for the bonus, you'll make more money and you'll have more sanity in your business. So I am running a COVID-19 special right now, and you can get 7 modules, all of the support videos, all of the support exercises, and your custom tactical plan for $99. And again, that's at www.therisingeffect.com. Pam, we have a few minutes left. What have been your observations about small business owners and their attempts to improve sales? Where do you see them struggle most?
Well, I guess I would take it, from a positive standpoint. And I would say that, because you touched upon some very, very excellent and valid points. And I think the most important things that business owners need to do is they need to make sure that their marketing plan depicts their passion, and they are also logical plans, right? Because when your quest or your conversation with a potential customer is no longer logical, then you lose them. So I always think of passion and logic, putting them together. And I think you also mentioned the whole idea of knowing your audience language. And that's what helped us at DakotaCom, exactly that. I went to a seminar one day. Everybody was talking tech. I had no idea what they were saying. And I turned to one of my fellow leaders on my team and said, that's what's going to make us successful, because we don't talk that. We're going to talk human. And thus our tagline was the human touch in technology. And it was really true that people knew that they could call DakotaCom and we were going to explain everything to them in regular, normal terms. And back then, it was, as my mother used to say, what's this WWW thing? And she wanted to know more about it, right? And so I had to teach her that. But it's kind of the same thing right now with social media, right? Business owners know they should be in it, and it has a lot of great tools because talk about if you know who your best prospective customer is, you can fine-tune it right down to the detail of being able to target them with social media. But typically, like in the WWW world of my mother, this world, people are like, oh, I need to understand that whole digital world, but I just don't have time. I need to go fix cars, or I need to paint buildings, or whatever it takes to run my business. And so right. I think by going to courses like yourselves and others that are out there, it's really, really important. But passion and logic need to be very important ingredients to have a good platform for a small business owner, and they should utilize those, I think. They have a lot of passion.
I love that, and it sounds like an equation. Passion plus logic equals building raving fans.
Right, exactly.
Right? Because, you don't just want clients, you also want people who have a relationship with you, who are going to refer you, and they become part of your sales team. You shouldn't have to do all the heavy lifting by yourself.
Right, and it's so authentic when they do it for you.
Yes. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. If you have a question or problem you'd like for us to talk about during our Dear Coach segment, please email me at stephanie@therisingeffect.com. I invite you to follow the show on our Small Biz Big Voices Facebook page, which includes show notes, announcements for upcoming shows, and links to podcasts that I personally listen to. My thanks to today's guest, Pam Krim of the BBB serving Southern Arizona, to my producer, Mark Bishop, and to you for joining us on Small Biz Big Voices. Stay safe and be well.